I grew up in a very traditional religious environment where I was active in the youth group. My dad was one of the leaders at the building that we were part of, and so very involved in that from very young ages. And one of the things I remember looking back that's just kind of mind-boggling is, so this particular denomination I was a part of was really big into, at the time when it was a fad, bus ministries. And we had like 8 of these buses that we would drive out on Sundays and pick up children and bring them back in to come to Bible classes, and then take them back home, and then pick up a few more on Sunday nights that would come in. At like 17, I was asked to be a bus captain. So here's this 17-year-old guy and it just makes me think about all the different ways that in that whole scenario that people are kind of promoted. Paul talks to Timothy about lay hands on no one prematurely. And there's just this idea that because someone becomes a Christian, that now in that same group they're now allowed to start leading prayers, leading songs. The day that they're one-day-old Christians and they're asked to lead prayers, and it just does something to a young person like in my situation when there's this expectation that because you're Christian, you now can be in these positions of leadership or visibility, and I think it feeds something that's very unhealthy, and it kind of highlights an overall problem.
One of the things that I had always done is I had always played music since I was little. I think I was in 4th grade, I started taking drum lessons, and fairly naturally, being a part of the religious system, people kept telling me, "Oh, you should play music. You should start a ministry." So I had this idea that I was going to be a Christian rock musician and do concerts and stuff.
I remember my grandfather, and I remember he'd introduce me to people, and he'd say, "This is my grandson. He's the best prayer I've ever heard." This whole mindset that just somehow creates this notion of those who are good at religious things and those who are just normal people. And I remember even when I finally did decide that I was going to go to Bible college and become a pastor, that I remember how proud of me the whole congregation was, and it's just this whole, like you're sending a hero off somehow. There's something really wrong with that, and it fed very much the wrong things in me.
It's pretty much always expected that if someone's actually going to take God seriously, the thing that's expected is, well, of course, then you're going to become a preacher or an evangelist or something like that. So it was definitely, as I'm going through my teen years in high school, my desire was to get at reaching lost souls, starting churches, and that was what I was after.
There was an identity that I associated with. Along with that, it really wasn't something that I was doing for Jesus.
In that situation, because there's such shallowness and lack of relationship, that something that just begins to look like it is talent, and that has God's words in it. So somebody who can speak eloquently God's words, who can write songs eloquently that use God's words, that person is somehow deemed as anointed, deemed as gifted because they're good at singing, and they happen to choose to sing spiritual songs or songs that are based on the scriptures instead of just worldly ones, because perhaps that's the audience that'll listen to them, or perhaps that's the only place they can make it. Or, in my case, that's the world I grew up in. I grew up in a world that was very religious. I didn't have other opportunities to write books or to stand up and speak in front of people. And so that's the world, that's the audience that gave me attention.
It was something that I was doing because I wanted to. I was pretty good at it. I got identity. People would ask for autographs and blah, 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 and all the clapping and all that stuff that went along with that whole scene was something that I identified with and I liked.
And so it was easy then for me to say, maybe I'm good at this, maybe this is my calling, maybe this is what I should do, and for others to say the same thing. But it's all connected to carnal talents and recognition of somebody who's just good at something physically. And a lot of ambition and pride becomes somebody who's now on stage singing songs, giving speeches, writing books, and has still no real relationship with the living God, and certainly wasn't sent by the living God.
But because there was so much hypocrisy in my own life, it became a very difficult thing for me to want to somehow perpetuate information and truth that wasn't working in my own life. I was doing my absolute best to be a godly person, and I just couldn't do it.
It seems so noble in the moment, and the shame of it all is that there's nobody really around you that would have ever said, hold on a minute, that doesn't sound like Jesus to me. That mixture of pride and putting men forward versus putting Jesus forward was pretty harmful to me. And it took a lot of years, I would say, before I saw all that right. And really the process of giving up the title, that wasn't that hard, because it all was clear conviction when I saw the picture of what the church was supposed to be. So title was never a problem, but giving up being respected, that was hard. And that was something that took many years to unravel and to work through, was the idea of giving up being respected. I didn't need a title, and I didn't need to be the guy, but being involved and being respected was a security blanket that needed to be replaced with Jesus.
When I finally experienced God's truth, it changed something significantly as it related to my ambition to be a leader, to somehow be a Bible guy, a preacher, evangelist kind of guy. I just wanted to really, for the first time, grow in being a true-hearted believer. And a lot of that ambition to be somebody, to do something, really fell by the wayside.
And there is a clear difference between the elevating of men and of talent that happened in my experience growing up, and godly sending of people to do the work of God, godly anointing, godly gifting.
I got to experience true leadership that was around me, and so there was nothing in me that felt threatened by leaders that were already in place and in the church that I was becoming part of and joining my life to. I just truly wanted to learn and be a part. My heart was still for there to be many sons to come to glory, to really experience Jesus in a real way. I still had a heart for the lost and a heart to see churches established in every nation around the globe, but I no longer had this ambition to be anybody or to be the main man, as much as I just wanted to truly grow and be as useful to God as He had for me to be.
But the music was one of those things where I realized that, along with help, I didn't just one day wake up and go, oh, now this is different. It was with help. People who helped me to see that, give it to Him. Don't have an expectation of what it should look like or what it should be, but give it to Him. Keep my hands open and just let it go.
Even though I no longer had the aspirations to be a leader or an evangelist on a certain level, what I did have an aspiration to do and to be was to simply be somebody who loved those around me. And over the years, as each body member has done its part, the gifts and the parts of Jesus's personality and skills just start to manifest and show themselves in various people's lives, but it doesn't come from having some sort of ambition to have a leadership role for the sake of leadership, or trying to change the world on some sort of ambitious level, but literally one life at a time, one moment at a time, being somebody who loves.
Jesus gives gifts as He pleases.
God takes that which is not to shame that which is.
Leadership really does begin to resolve itself and manifest itself in the middle of those who, as they grow and as they mature, And as they are loving those around them, their leadership responsibilities, though they don't necessarily need to be identified name by name by name, become very obvious and important to the growth and flourishing of the church.
The difference of how I see God's gifts and rising up in people is I haven't seen anybody grabbing after, I want to be this. Oh, I think I'm good at that. But you see bubbling up out of people what they are. What Jesus has put inside kind of wells up, and you see in this situation, this person has this wisdom that it just drops your jaw of, I never would have seen that. And yes, I can see God's heart in that. And yes, I will go there.
We're not all the same, and that's a good thing, that there's different gifts and different abilities.
Your vision of what you're seeing is only a small part, and your small part is just to play it, is to be faithful in it.
I've learned to walk humbly and to defer to giftedness. And I've seen the love of Christ through people.
Because Jesus lives inside of us and has given us unique gifts that blossom in an organic type of body that functions in Jesus.
This is about Jesus wanting a testimony on this earth of what he's like and who he is.
He's the head and we're the body, and he's allowed to work through us and live out his life through us, just like he did in his mortal body 2,000 years ago.
What is out there calling itself represented God as church is sad. But Jesus deserves to have people that really reflect him, that people in the world could look and see there's something different here.